may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay guys, if you have not already, what you need to do is you need to go down to the comment section, go to the description of the video, whatever it is, and please, 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 go click on that link. It's going to take you to Thrive Fantasy, a fantasy platform that is really prioritizing the Major League Baseball season this year. And what they are doing, because of so, is they are letting everyone who signs up to their website with the promo code FLOCK into a free $1,000 free roll contest where, yes, they're just giving away money. Also, the rate on their other contests that they have on the site is extremely low. So please go take advantage ASAP. It helps this channel, and it's free money because they want people to sign up. So they're going, you know what, if we invest, if we just throw out free money right now, maybe later on, way down the road, 5 years from now, we'll make that money back. So please, where there's free money, just go grab it. It's that simple. But anyway, what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be going through some early season strategy that you can implement for your fantasy baseball leagues. And it's going to be completely different than fantasy basketball, than fantasy football. If that's what you're used to, I mean, you need to buckle up. I am here trying to learn as much as possible, just like everybody else is. So, of course, if you have any of your own strategies, go down to the comment section and let everybody else watching this video know, because I talk about this all the time, but we are a community. We are trying to learn together. We are trying to grow together. So if you have any piece of advice that you can give to others, do so in the comment section. But anyway, let's talk about some general strategy here for fantasy baseball. And the first thing I want to bring up is something obvious, but something that needs to be discussed just for a little bit. It's the fact that the Major League Baseball season is 162 games. This is completely different in terms of the strategy attacking the season than you're going to see in a fantasy football league where you're only playing 16 games, and that the sample size is so large, and we understand that some of these hitters, some of these pitchers are going to go through cold and hot streaks, and it's all going to balance out at the end. I mean, those projections that you were seeing from whatever website you were looking at right now, that's going to be an aggregate for what you're going to expect from all these games. And I know that is extremely obvious, and you're all probably saying, Mason, stop wasting my time. But you really have to think about it. When we are at the very beginning of the season, just say we are 13, 14 games in, that is such a small part of it where it's less than 10% of the season. So if you have a stud player that you drafted and you thought he was going to be a cornerstone asset for you, and he is not performing how you expected, you cannot give up on that player. You have to be holding tight. You have to be making sure that you're not selling him at a bargain. Because what's probably going to happen is if you sell a player after a cold 10, 11 games, you're going to be losing out on a little bit of value. And then later on, you may see that player have an exact opposite hot stretch where for possibly 2-3 weeks of the season, he is batting .450. He's up there with a ridiculous 600 slugging, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, what did I do? I drafted a player just for this. I sold him at a price that's 80% of this, and now I'm sitting here just with a lack of production on my roster. So please understand, with how long this season is, with how large the sample is going to be, that you can't panic on these players early. You cannot give up on them right away. And another thing that I want to talk about is, because this season is so long, the players that you may have been drafted that are injured, like a Zach Gallen, like a Sonny Gray, like a Luke Voit, you're going to have to be looking at them, and you're going to have to be saying, you know what? This is a long haul. This is something that we are invested into for the middle and the end of the year. We're not going to be expecting anything at the beginning. And every single day, setting your lineup, every single day looking at your roster for the first month, if you're missing these players, yeah, it's going to affect with your psyche. It's going to mess with you a little bit, where you may just be sitting there going, why did I draft Sonny Gray? What am I doing here? Why do I not have a starting pitcher for the first 3 weeks of the year? Where if you're 14 days into that, you have to understand that the last thing you can ever do is go sell that player. And on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, if you're sitting there and you have no players that you drafted on your team that are injured to start the year, maybe you go, okay, a couple of these starting pitchers that are going to be working their way back slowly, after they get the first start, maybe the first 2 starts out of the way, and they're on a pitch count and you don't necessarily see the innings pitched extremely high, maybe you can target those players as buy low candidates, because you go, you know what? The other team that I'm trading with, they're the ones that kind of lost out on the value of not being able to start them for the first few weeks. Now, I'm going to be trading for them as soon as they come back. If I get any discount in the slightest, that's going to be absolutely massive because the player I'm trading away, I've been able to start him for the past 2 weeks. I've been able to accrue those points, and hopefully it led to some wins for me to start out the year. So if you're going to be trading for injured players, specifically pitchers, I'm going to want to see those players come back and at least pitch one game. Because if you're dealing with someone who maybe doesn't have a ton of experience with fantasy baseball, maybe doesn't have all the research done, they don't really know that those pitchers work their way back slowly. They maybe don't know that, hey, for the first few starts, you're not going to be expecting anything close to what you drafted them for. So if you could get a, just say 10% discount on the price you're going to pay for that player, I think that's something you're going to want to go for. And the next thing you're going to want to go for is you're going to want to target some players that are starting slowly, but specifically you have to go for guys that were drafted and valued highly coming into the year at categories that you're not going to see consistent production. And what I mean by this is, no, you're not going to see Mike Trout start slow for 2 weeks and just say he's batting 248, just say his slugging is down there at 490, and the owner is going, you know what? Mike Trout here, I drafted him for more than this, let's sell. That's going to be hard to do. But what's going to be easy to do, say you have a player like Adalberto de Mondesi, someone who was drafted at the end of the second, early third round for his stolen bases, and through 2 weeks, he hasn't accrued a single stolen base. That is where you take advantage. Because, of course, a player like that, if you drafted them specifically for a single category, if that category hasn't been there so far that season, all the other categories are probably poor. So someone's probably looking at an Adalberto Mondesi and going, you know what? I drafted him for stolen bases. We're going into week 3. He hasn't provided that at all. Then I could go and look to sell. Where in reality, the season doesn't work. Where you draft someone that you expect to give you, say, 30 stolen bases over the entire year, and they don't spread them out evenly. What you're going to see is you're going to see them clustered together in random sections. So if it's just a little bit volatile and they're not producing what you drafted right away, that doesn't mean it's not coming later on. So for those categories, just say like someone you expected to be hitting a ton of home runs. Say you drafted Aaron Judge going, you know what? He's probably not going to get on base very often. He's probably not going to have a high batting average, but he should come through with some home runs, give me a ton of points in very specific nights. And over the first 2 weeks, he doesn't have a single dinger. Then that's when you take advantage. You go, hey, these stats are so volatile and so spread out that it doesn't really matter too much in terms of the overall projections for the season if they started a little bit slower. So please understand the specific players you drafted and the categories you did it for and when you should look to target. Now, the last thing that I am going to be talking about is going to be relieving pitchers. And the thing here is, at the very beginning of the year, you want to be closely following those rotations. You want to see the guy who is going in to close games. You want to make sure that you're going to get an advantage over your league mates with saves, because we've had people on here that are way smarter than me come and explain it to me going, hey Mason, you know, the reason that these closers go so late in drafts is because it's extremely hard to know who the guy's going to be. It's extremely hard to know who the team's going to be confident in. So it's better to take a lot of them very late and then figure it out at the early part of the year rather than investing into someone at the top end of your draft. So please make sure during the stretch, during the beginning of the season, you're putting in your work. You're looking across the entire league, looking at guys that are getting the opportunity to rack up saves. Because if you act fast and if you're aggressive at the very beginning of the season, maybe halfway through the year, you can look back and you can go, you know what? That won me a decent amount of games. I'm glad I did that. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, I'm going to be making a video every single day for y'all. So I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.